In this lecture, we will learn a new classifier, Bayes classifier, and this is also a very important tool and helpful tool in classification algorithms. So we will see that why this Bayesian classification is required, why it is so helpful, and how it will work, and we will see an example of classification as well. So it is basically a statistical classifier that it performs based on probabilistic prediction. Okay, so if you remember, we have learned Bayes theorem and it is based on conditional probability. So before entering into this Bayesian classifier, or we will learn a type of Bayesian classifier called naive-Bayes classifier, and to proceed with that, we have to recapitulate what was the Bayes theorem, and we will see it that how Bayes theorem works and how we are going to use our Bayes theorem in the naive-Bayes classifier. And the foundation, as I was talking of, it is fully based on this Bayes theorem. Its performance, it's a simple Bayesian classifier, that is, we will learn the naive Bayesian classifier. It has comparable performance with decision tree and selected neural network classifiers, and we have covered decision tree, and we will cover neural network concept in the next class. For now, we will stick to the Bayesian classifier only. Okay. And it is incremental. So here each training example can incrementally increase or decrease the probability that a hypothesis is correct. Prior knowledge can be combined with observed data. So we know that this Bayes theorem is fully based on hypothesis, that using a hypothesis we will try to predict using Bayes theorem we are going to find out whether my hypothesis is holding good for a set of data, right? That Bayes theorem generally deals with, right? Now we are going to look into what the Bayes theorem says. Here we have to remember the total probability theorem. We know the total probability theorem is that for any item, say A, it may varies from I to I equals to 1 to m, anything. So we will merge this conditional, or we will find out a product of this conditional probability, that is probability of B condition A for any values of A, and we will multiply that value with the probability of A. So this total probability theorem, we are going to use it in the Bayes theorem. Okay, so this is the formula for Bayes theorem, and here we are assuming X to be a data sample and its class level is unknown, right? So we are working with a data sample whose class level we do not know in which class or which level to tag with X value, right? So here, to begin with this, we are assuming that if H is the hypothesis, and with that hypothesis we are predicting that X belongs to class C, right? So we are assuming a prior condition that if this H holds, then there is a chance of X to belong to class C. So that is hypothesis H, using which we can say that if this hypothesis holds, means the condition, if the condition is, or prior condition is this, then X is going to be in the class C, and the P of H is the probability of the hypothesis, and P of X is the probability of occurrence of that item. And if we are having these three values, we can find out how my hypothesis is working on any set of data, right? So means what is the probability of my hypothesis to hold good for this X data sample, fine. So if we have to say what actually hypothesis is, say we are having a condition that my X is going to purchase a computer if the age of X is between 31 to 40 and the income of X is lying in the medium range. Just try to recapitulate the example which we were working on for the decision tree, and we are going to revisit that example as well in this lecture. Fine. So here what is my hypothesis? My hypothesis is that the age of X will be between 31 to 40 and the income of X will in the medium range. So if this hypothesis holds good, then X is going to purchase a computer. So we know what is the probability of X condition H is, right? So that is the hypothesis. With this hypothesis my X is holding good. Again, we know that what is the prior probabilities? That is the AP of H, right? So that is initial probability that my X will buy computer regardless of agent or income or whatever it is. So we are not using any condition here. We are not we are just sticking to the prior probability. And P of X is what? That is a probability that the sample data is observed, right? So sample data means what? Say we are having total 100 values, and out of this 100 values we are working with 20 values. So P of X will be 20 by 100. That's it. Okay. So we know that how to find out that P of X. We know how to find out the prior probability, that is irrespective of whatever the age and income of X is going to purchase computer. So that is P of H. So how many persons are purchasing the computer out of the total set, out of the total number of customers purchasing any item in my store? That will be P of H. And P of X condition H means we will set a prior condition, that is my hypothesis, and based on that condition we will just fetch up some values for which my that value will return true, right? So using these three values we can find out that how good my hypothesis is. That is the main concept of Bayes theorem. So here just see this is called posteriori probability, right? So this is the posteriori probability, and it is called likelihood. Likelihood means P of X condition H, means with the hypothesis X how many X are there, right? And P of H is my prior probability and P of X is my evidence. These are the term. We use this term to represent to depict this P of X condition H, P of H and P of X. Okay, right. Now how we are going to predict that X will belong to which class? Say there are various classes, namely CI, CJ, CKs, anything, right? So who, for the case for whose this conditional probability value or the likelihood of occurrence is higher, right, we will fetch that class for my X. And why I am saying so? You can see here from the formula, just look at the formula. Say we are predicting that X can belong to any one of the classes. So for which this value, that is P of CK of X, right, is maximum, then the chances of occurrence of or chances of mapping that X value to that class will be maximum only, right? Because whenever the likelihood of any condition any probability, that is P of CI condition X, right, so whenever the likelihood is maximum, then we can map that X value to that class only, right? Now we will directly move to our classifier, that is Naive Bayes classifier, and to use it to classify some objects. Before that we will learn that how this classifier works actually. Here there will be a training set of tuples, right, and we are assuming it to be D, capital D, and they will have their associated class label. remember we are talking of training set. So here whatever the data set is, if we represent it in the form of a n dimensional vector, that is x1 x2 and all, so everyone will be labeled to a particular class, because it's a training data, so we know which value is mapped to which class. We are having input output pair, or we are having this class mapped to so the data value mapped to which class pair, right? So we are having this value with us, so this will be there. Now suppose there are total m number of classes C1 to Cm, and given a tuple x, the classifier will predict that x belongs to the class having highest posterior probability, then conditioned on x. So here in which class I will map, which we were talking about in the previous slide. Say the posterior probability of this one, that PCIX, that is for the probability of occurrence of x in Ci is more than that of occurrence of in Cj. So we are definitely going to map my x to the Ci class, right? And this can be find out. How we are going to find out this P of Cix? Using base formula, right? Why? Because if we are having the value of P of x condition Ci, that is with the hypothesis Ci, my x can be there in that class, we are having that value. We are having the prior probability, that is P of Ci, and we are having the evidence, that is P of x, that is on which particular data set we are working on. If we are having these three values, then we can find out the posteriori hypothesis or this posteriori probability, right? So using Bayes theorem we can find out which class we have to map my data, that is x data. Now just see here, if you remember, I was talking of that to maximize the likelihood, right? Why I was saying so? If you just focus on the formula, you will find out whenever we are trying to find out this value of this posteriori hypothesis, that is P of Ci condition x, we have to depend on my likelihood, right? That is P of x condition Ci. We have to depend on the prior probability, that is occurrence of the probability of hypothesis to hold good, and the probability of the evidence. So if you just focus on this, the probability of P of x, that is my evidence, that you cannot maximize it or minimize it, right? Because whatever the data items we are selecting, we are going to work on that data item only, so we are not going to maximize it. There is no chances of maximizing it. Before we are restricting ourselves to work on that data set, right? Now whenever we are working on such a scenario where the probability of occurrence of each hypothesis, rather in this case it is the probability of occurrence of each class, right? That is C1, C2 and all. You cannot say that this class, the occurrence or the chances of occurrence of this class or existence of this class is more than the occurrence of the other classes. It is not so, right? So all the classes there is equal chances of occurrence of all the classes. So you are not going to classify, or you are not going to distinguish between the occurrence of each classes. So it means whatever the probability of occurrence of C1 is, it has to be equal to occurrence of C2. Just think it in very layman way, that say there are 5 classes. So occurrence of class 1 is what? Probability of occurrence is 1 by 5. Probability of occurrence of class 2 is 1 by 5. Class 3 is again 1 by 5. So it will hold the equal value for all. So there is no chances of maximizing it as well. So only what thing we can do? We can only maximize my likelihood. That is, how for C1 class, what is the chances of occurrence of x in it. For C2 class, what is the chances of occurrence of x in it? So the class with which my x data item is mostly attached, for that case the probability will be maximum. That's why we have to maximize the likelihood of likelihood value to find out the posteriori probability of a particular occurrence, okay, the particular class and with the data item pair. Okay, now here one more property holds, that is called class conditional independence. What is the meaning of it? Here, say class 1 is having 5 attributes, class 2 is having 6 attributes, class 3 is having 7 attributes. Now say one tuple is belonging to one class, right, and other tuples belongs to other class, and third tuple belongs to the other class. So there is no dependency among the tuples. That is, if there is a relationship between the attributes, there has to be a relationship, right? Now whatever the attributes are there in class 1 and whatever the attributes are there in class 2, they has to be independent of one another. That is, if attribute 1 holds in class 1, it may or may not hold in class 2 or class 3, fine. So there should not be any relationship between them, that if attribute 1 and 2 is in the class 1, it has to be in class 3. No, it should not be like that. There should not be any relationship between the attributes of different classes. So if this class conditional independence holds, then we can find out this the product of the occurrence of each value, right? Because since they are independent, so we can apply the principle of mutual exclusion here. So what is the probability of this posterior probability can be find out. You can see here, if when we are trying to find out the posteriori probability of all the classes ranging from 1 to n, so we can just find out the product of it, because they are totally independent of one another. So there is no relationship between the occurrence of whatever the attribute, or the rather the attributes of each and other classes are totally independent of each other, they are not dependent. So we can apply the theory of mutual exclusion here. Okay. Fine. Now here, if any attribute, right, so say named a k is categorical, means discrete. If it is categorical, then the probability of any value, say x of k, it is a value of any attribute of ak, right, and for we are finding out the likelihood here, that is x of k belongs to condition ci. It is what? It is a number of tuples of class ci in D having the value xk for ak. So what we are finding out here, if we are trying to find out the number, how many tuples of ak are there in ci, and if it is confined to xk, so we are just going to find out for which tuples the value is xk is present, right? So we are going to fetch those tuples only. And if we can divide it by the total number of tuples present in class ci, say there are total 10 tuples present in class ci, and if we are trying to find out a particular value for attribute ak, that is xk, say there are 2 tuple is having a value of xk, so the probability will be what? 2 by 5, right? So that is very easy to find out this likelihood probability in categorical. But if the attribute is not having discrete value, but it is having a continuous valued attribute, so here but remember one thing, we are not going to work with this. Just for your knowledge, we are going to use a Gaussian function here. You can find out, you can see here that my Gaussian distribution is based on finding out the standard deviation and mean of the value, and this is a formula for finding out the standard deviation and mean for the continuous valued attribute, and using that we can find out the probability. But still, this is just for your knowledge. We are not going to work with the continuous valued attribute in our syllabus. Okay, so we will be sticking to our categorical part. So just remember, for discrete values or for categorical values in any attribute, if we have to specify the values of the attribute, say for income. Okay, so income, if you remember, there were three different values, high, medium and low were present. So if we have to find out the occurrences of low, so what we are going to do, we will count the number of low entry in the income tuple or income column, income attribute rather, and we have to divide that number of lows with the total number of entries in the income table, income attribute, right? So this is very easy to find out in case of the categorical data, but if we have to apply it for the continuous value, we have to apply the Gaussian function, but that is not our lookout here. Okay, now if we can find out, or if we can come up with the value of this posteriori probability, so for each class we can find out the posteriori probability, and for whose the value of this value posteriori probability will be maximum, we are going to label that data item to that class only. So now we are going to apply the whatever we have learned. Just we will see that it for an example, for a classification example. Okay, let's see here what is our class, means what are the classes present here. One is no, another is yes, right? And it is whether we are going to buy the computer or not. So one level is buy computer equals to yes and buys computer equals to no. So there are two classes, namely C1 and C2. Now what are the different attributes based on which we are going to classify the data? It is age, income, student and credit rating. Okay. Now say we are having one data where this it is being marked with X, where whose age is lesser than equals to 30, income equals to medium, student value is yes and credit rating is fair. So with this data we are going to work. Okay. So firstly, what we are going to do, we have to find out the probability of each classes, right? That is what? Prior probability. We are finding out the prior probability. So if we have to compare it with the Bayes theorem, it is the probability of hypothesis, that is the prior probability. Fine. So two conditions are there, one is yes, another is no. So we can find out, you can just, if you look at the table, there are 9 occurrences of yes among 14 and 5 occurrences of no's among 14. So we have calculated the probability. Now what we are going to do, we have to find out the posteriori probability. So before finding out the posteriori probability, we have to do what? We have to find out my likelihood, and we have to find out the total occurrences of X, right? So here what my X will be, X will be those values whose age is smaller or equals to 30, and buys computer will be definitely yes, right? Just see here, since we have to work on these 4 attributes, we will pick up one at a time, right? So here firstly we are sticking to the age attribute. So here when age is lesser than or equals to 30 and buying computer is equals to yes, we have calculated the probability, and for no we have calculated the probability. Similarly, if we have to work with the income parameter, we will stick to medium because we are looking for that value only, and when the income is medium and chances of buying computer is yes, so that probability we are having. Similarly, when the chances of buying computer is no, we can calculate the probability. Similarly for student and for credit rating, we have calculated the probability. Now my X value is what? Just see the data with which we are working on. Here age should be lesser than equals to 30, income is medium, student is yes and credit rating is fair. So we have calculated the value of all. Okay. Now if we have to find out the posteriori probability, likelihood, probability of likelihood, then what we will find out. First, for ES, if you just see the where the ES are, for one, where age is lesser than equals to 30 and by computer is ES is there, okay, income medium is there, then student is equals to and by computer equals to ES is there. All the four probabilities are present. Now remember one thing here, the class independence property holds, so we can apply the principle of mutual exclusion here. So if we have to find out the probability of X, that is the likelihood of occurrence to ES, that is class CI, okay, see, if we just mark this Bayes computer equals to ES as C1, then the likelihood of occurrence of X in C1 can be calculated by just multiplying these four values, okay. Similarly, for this no, the likelihood of occurrence of X to the class no can be done by multiplying the four values for buying computer no based on four attributes which we have calculated. Now we can find out the posteriori probability here. So if we just look at the formula to find out the, means using Bayes theorem, if we multiply this two, we can find out that the likelihood or the posteriori probability of class 1, that is buying computer ES, is coming to 0.028, and for computer buying computer equals to no, it is coming to 0.007. so you can see the probability of the first one is higher, so you can say that X belongs to the class of buying computer, fine. So that means if this condition holds, whoever the person X is with these values or with this records, he or she is going to purchase the computer, fine. So you can see it's very easy to implement, right, and it holds good. It is it's easy to understand as well. So this is the way in which Naive Bayes classifier works. Now here we have to learn one more technique, that is called zero probability theorem. We have to avoid it. So how we are going to avoid that zero probability theorem? Just see, if the condition is like this, if there are total 1000 tuples present and we are just focusing on the income attribute, so the person with low income category is 0, medium is 990 and income high is 10. Okay. Now just see, if this is the condition, so whenever we are going to find out the probability, likelihood probability, then if any one of the category, there is no person belongs to that category, that is for the low income category, no data are available, so it will come up to a zero probability problem, right? So this is going to affect my total training data, this is going to affect my total classification problem. So here what see, you just see there are total 1000 tuples, so Laplacian correction is based on this feature, that if we can add one more tuple to each one of the category, it's not going to affect so much, right? So if we add 1 to 990 number of items, it is not going to affect too much, right? So if we can add at least one to each one of the category, the balance remains the same, the probability remains more or less same, and again this zero probability problem can be solved. So just see, if we can add one to each one of the category, then the number of low income person will be 1, number of medium income person will be 991, and number of high income person will be 11. So now the probability changes to 1 by 1003, because the number of total tuples has been increased to 3, because we have added one person to each category. So total there are 3 categories, so the total value has increased with 3, right? So with this value we can, with this approach we can just avoid this zero probability problem. So this is very useful, and these are the advantages and disadvantages of using Naive Bayes classifier. I was talking of this too, that it is very easy to implement, and in most of the cases you will get a good result. And since class conditional independence is a basic assumption here, so it is lacking somewhat. It is lacking accuracy, because there may be such conditions that there may be a slight dependency among the classes. So since we are primarily assuming, for the sake of simplicity, that okay, class conditional independence holds, so there may be a little bit lack in the accuracy. Still, it works good for most of the cases. Okay, in some of the cases it may fail. And say in practical scenario, right, like hospitals, patients, then profiles, so in this kind of situations there are dependencies, right? So they are not actually independent classes. I mean, attributes may be dependent on one another in different classes. So in this kind of situation, we are not going to use naive Bayes classifier. So basically, after whenever you will learn 3 or 4 types of classifier, because there are this much number of classifiers in your syllabus, there are many more. So then at the end of the day, you can find out the best possible choice for your problem, right? So whenever we are going to work with a particular problem, we know what are the advantages of a particular classifier is, we know what are the disadvantages of a particular classifier is. So using that knowledge, we are going to use that classifier to that scenario which fits to a particular scenario, right? So that is the case. So, but in most of the cases, other than this kind of situation, naive Bayes classifier is a very good option. It is easy to understand, it is easy to implement, and you will get good results. And with this, we will end up this lecture. And in the next class, we are going to learn one more classification technique, that is classification by back propagation. We will see a little bit introduction to neural network as well, and we will see how neural network works and how we can use the concept of back propagation in the neural network. Thank you.